kind of a dream come true. We got everything we wanted. We could go anywhere and do anything. That was the plan. This is our second home. It just has an ever-changing front yard. Oh man. I have become one with the van. At long last, my van is finished, and we came to try out all the systems and make sure it's all working the way it should be. We spent a lot of time on the internet. At one point I told my wife I think I had reached the end of the internet. I think I've seen every do-it-yourself video, every pro-build video. Just trying to take the best ideas from everywhere I could find them, incorporate them into one build. And we got most of what I wanted to get done. We didn't get everything finished, but you know, I had this dream of the bed being able to slide out the back. That didn't happen, but pretty much everything else, we figured out a way to do it. Of course, it's a big freaking Tetris game, right? So you take an inch from one place and you lose an inch from another place. And so a lot of it was determined by the sort of structure of the frame of the Sprinter and where the fridge would fit on the wall and how to maximize space and that kind of stuff. But it all started with a desire to get our bikes inside the van. So we do a lot of mountain biking, and we used to have an Airstream Atlas, which is their motorhome that's built on the Mercedes Sprinter platform. But we had to hang the bikes off the back, and traveling around the country, it was, you know, get all grimy, the dust would come up, and so it wasn't really meeting the needs for us of where we wanted to go, get to the right trailheads. It's a great vehicle, but it wasn't for us, so we sold it and found an empty van. And first decision was, where do the bikes go? And that's in the back, which determines the height of the bed, which determines everything else. So started with the bikes. I didn't build much of it. I built the bed part of it, but Christy, my wife, and I designed every inch. Bikes were important. I was worried about security. We put a lot of time and energy into it, so there's a pretty redundant security system in it. Have our projector TV running in there. We've got a big refrigerator. We've got the shower and toilet. You could live in it full time if you wanted to. That's not our intention out of the box, but yeah, you could go anywhere and do anything, and that was the plan. Just think of it as instead of buying a little cabin somewhere or a second house on the beach, this is our second home. So it just has an ever-changing front yard, so we can go where we want, when we want, and explore. And it's got the, you know, it's four-wheel drive. It's got a lot of extra suspension, a lot of extra brakes. Pretty rugged, so we can get to any trailhead for hiking or mountain biking or whatever. It's kind of a dream come true. You know, we bought it in June of 2020, and here we are in February of 22. I would say thousands of hours of thinking about it. Christy used to always say, I'd be sitting out in the empty cargo van, and she'd be like, what are you doing out there? I'm like, I'm thinking about the van. I'm trying to plan out every inch. So yeah, I have become one with the van. Christy said the van is my true love. Not true, but I've spent a lot of time. So. The original vision was to try to do this myself, and then I knew there were things I was going to have to outsource, the electrical, the solar system. I mean, it just shows how little I knew about what I was trying to bite off and chew. And once I got into it a little bit, I'm like, I don't have any of the skills. Nothing I learned in school or my life experience would allow me to build out what we wanted to, and if I learned it all online or whatever, it was going to take me 5 years. I decided I'd rather spend those 5 years traveling, and we bumped into Brandon and Reparadise and got on their build list for a custom build. It's a dream come true, really. It's awesome. We love it. If you want to follow me around to the back, I told you the build started with our bikes. A lot of people build out these little glides in the back of their van, and the bike stands this way. But you need, you know, 35-ish inches if you take your front tire off and your pedals off. Anyway, we just took that sort of square or rectangle that you would have for a bike and we turned it sideways. I haven't seen anybody do this, but that's where it all started and that's where it ended up. So we have two drawers for bikes. So this is Christy's bike. This is my bike. Top drawer is for all of our camping gear, hiking, all the extra stuff that we have. So I haven't seen anybody do that. I'm the most proud of this because it was something that, you know, was in my head at some point. And now to have it like be a thing, you know, like it was in my head and now boom, it's pretty cool. This is the solar system we put in, really big system. It got installed by Tiny Watt Solar out of Portland. And actually they came to the Reparadise shop to install it because they were coming down here. Put all the solar on one side, all of the HVAC and plumbing and water stuff on the other side. So we have a little, you know, shower off the back, temperature, you know, adjuster here. Put a ARB twin air compressor up in the engine compartment, and we ran a line down to the bottom there so we can use this hose to air down and fill up the tires of the Sprinter when we're out doing some stuff where you got some washboard roads or what have you. But we can also use it for the bikes. We added these Thunderbolt locks. Sprinters don't have the best security systems. The doors are kind of easy to pop open if you Google stuff. They create these deadbolts, and so they have systems for, you know, like the back doors that open like that. They have them for the front, the driver door and the passenger door, and also for the sliding doors. They're all integrated with the regular key fob. This is an emergency one if you get locked in the van and you need to get out. We create a little reach through area from here when you're up in the bed area so that I can reach down and unlock if we have to get out the back. Van Life Tech also came down when we were doing the solar. You see the floor here, there's an inch of insulation, and then there's a ½ inch of subfloor, and then another ½ or ¾ inch CNC cut into it. So there's a closed hydronic system. So there, right behind here is a glycol tank, and the glycol runs down underneath this corner, which is where there's a heating system that runs off the diesel tank. Heats that glycol up, comes back into the van, runs through a heat exchanger for air heat, another heat exchanger for water heat, and then it runs through the floor. So we have radiant floor heat, comes back. In the summer, you change it so it's not heating the floor, it's only heating the water. Reparadise installed the Cruise and Comfort. It's a 24-volt air conditioning system. Part of it, the compressor part, is underneath where the tire used to go. And there's another part on the back side of this. Air conditioning and heating. I didn't want the air conditioner on the roof. I got a lot of solar panels up there. Wanted to conserve the space for that. When I got up this morning, it was probably about 30 degrees now. It's probably in the low 20s. And my floor was 90 degrees and the air temperature in there was 70. And it was 70 because that's what I set it at. So it's a legit system. I mean, it's, you know, you get what you pay for, right? So it's more on the expensive side, but we were gonna do this one time. Reparadise also fabricated these things, so I can show you the connector here. This is for a park tool, so we can insert this here and then take your bike out and attach it to this. This is what bike mechanics, you know, put the bike up off the ground. So we have one on this door, we have one on that door. This part is permanently mounted. There are 4 internal cameras and 4 external cameras. So this is one of the internal cameras. If anybody's coming up, I've got a hard drive, 1 terabyte hard drive, and it also backs up to the cloud. I put 2 floodlights on each side, the rear, the passenger, the driver, and then a big light bar on the front. So when you're, you know, out in dispersed camping and looking for a place, you can see what you're doing, or if you're setting up camp late. We also put this little light in the back so that, you know, if you're closer to people and you're trying to get packed up or unpacked, you don't have to light up the whole neighborhood. So it gives us a little, there's electrical outlet there as well. The antenna's not up, it's a fold down or extendable antenna from WeBoost. So that pulls in your cell phone signals, and then it runs a wire to an internal antenna. And then, you know, you can change, you've got one bar, you'll end up with 2 or 3 or whatever, so you get better cell phone coverage. We added a bumper, which sounds, you know, like not a big deal. But when you've got an expensive solar system and a huge HVAC system, air conditioning, heating, the last thing I want to do is have somebody rear end me and take out all of my internal systems. So we put this heavy duty bumper on from Rugged Design. That also allows us to sort of step up. This tarp, we used to, on the Airstream Atlas that we had one of those really nice awnings that comes out electronically, and if the wind blows too much, it'll retract and what have you. And that was great, but I was always worried. I read online a lot of stories of people that would deploy. I read about a guy who deployed when he was driving a van. Plus the problem we had is you always face the sun side, and as the sun sets, awning is just flat. It can't articulate down. And so you don't have a way to stop the sun from just streaming right into your van. So when it's hot in the summer, you can't really do anything. And so this actually works out better for us because you can adjust it so that articulates lower, so you can adjust for the sunset. Or if it's raining and you'd rather shed the water off the front so you're not getting it all wet on the back or what have you. So we found these guys, this is Dragonfly Tarps out of Idaho. We love this, and it just, basically the tubes, you know, collapse down. That thing rolls into a, you know, pretty small, compact container. So there's a little track that you slide it in, and it takes maybe, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes total to get it set up. And we've really enjoyed it. Keeps the van cool in the summertime, and, you know, helps sort of feel like you got an extra room, right? You got an outside room outside your van. So. From Park City, where we live, in 4 or 5 hours, you can be up at Jackson Hole or Sun Valley, or you can go down to Moab or St. George, Zions, Bryce Canyons. The plan is we kind of play it by ear. You know, you could leave on a Friday afternoon and go somewhere, and, you know, it feels like you're gone 2 days, but it feels like you've been gone a week. Because it's just such a different lifestyle. You enjoy every minute of it. So I don't know, we'll go wherever it takes us. I mean, the thing we loved about traveling in the Airstream was, you know, we'd get up in the morning and you'd bump into somebody, you know, having breakfast somewhere or at a bike shop or whatever, and you'd start talking, and we'd tell them, oh yeah, we're just traveling the country for a while, and they'd be like, oh, have you been here? You know, we were in Austin, Texas, and had breakfast and talked to a couple there, and they're like, did you guys go to Fredericksburg? Which is, you know, directionally from where we had come in Utah was behind us. It was up north and west. And we're like, no, and they're like, oh man, it's the cycling capital of Texas. It's the wine country, and it's beautiful. And so we turned around, went back 2 hours, and ended up staying in Fredericksburg for like 2 weeks. We like being able to go wherever, whenever, however, that's part of what we like exploring. Like, we don't really have a plan. We never did make a reservation at a place. We just, you know, the day of, as we got somewhere, we're like, okay, we're gonna look around and try to find. But we had to plug in the Airstream everywhere we went. Didn't have enough solar capacity for what we were doing. This has 740, and then I have a second alternator too. So even if it were cloudy, we could drive an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it would go from 0 battery to full. So we have the equivalent of 800 amp hours of solar battery, lithium batteries, which means we'll run out of food and water before we run out of electricity. So the van is completely electric. There's no propane. That's intentional. We have an induction stovetop, and every other system that's in there all runs off the batteries. Pretty self-contained. My goal is to never stay in an RV park ever again. I'll go to state parks and I'll go to national parks, but I'd rather just be out on BLM or someplace that we can just go where we want to go and not be cramped in with a bunch of other people. When we bought the van, it was an empty cargo van. Early on in the pandemic, vans were they're still super hard to find. So I knew I wanted the 170 extended, 170-inch wheelbase extended. A lot of people put in the flare space in the back, so it kind of comes out a little bit to give you some room, and people sleep east-west in the bed. The problem with that is the taller person, which in our case is me, has to sleep on the back because that's where it's the widest. On the older side of life, you get up to pee like 15 times a night. So that would have meant I'd be crawling over the top of Christy. I was looking in the United States for something that was about this size. There were 3 in the whole country. And I was calling dealers and I couldn't get a single one of those guys to call me back. I got lucky. There's a local listings for people who want to buy things. So I got on KSL. I never get on it, and just happened to get on there about 15 or 20 minutes after a guy posted that he was selling this van. And I called him up and said, look, I don't want to mess with you on the price. I have the money. I can bring you a certified check. I can be to your house in 2 hours. And he said, okay. We went and picked it up. Turned out it was the color I wanted. So we cut the holes for, these are CR Lawrence windows. So they're awning windows, they come out. So we put those in the back, the bed height. Up on the front end, there's a MaxxAir fan that you can set to either blow air out or suck air in. And so if you blow the air out and open your side windows, that draws some cool air across the bed and keeps you cool at night in the summer. We put the windows in. The slider door didn't have a window. We put that in as well. The ladder and the Nerf bars. We actually have 2 ladders to get up. Solar panel starts right here and runs to the very back. There's 2 of them. So I have 740 watts on the roof and the fan sits here. We haven't finished yet, but we're gonna put a little deck area up here so we could bring our chairs up and get the view from the roof if we wanted to. Added the rack. Brandon had a contact and really liked the rack. It's sleek and not that you need to hide the solar panels, but it just makes it a little cleaner looking. Got the MaxTrax for recovery stuff. Here's the other ladder. You want to clean snow or dirt or whatever off your solar panels. And so if you're on a ladder on that end for that first solar panel, you're not going to be able to reach over here. So we needed to put a tire on the outside because that took up the space with the air conditioner. So we got this from Alvan, tire carrier and the combined ladder. And so that allows me to get up on this side, deploy the WeBoost antenna, clean off this half of it, so I can do it on that side. Christy's son has had a number of close encounters with deer. We put on this, this is from Illuminous as well. Has a Warn winch, I think it's 12,000 pounds, which we used yesterday. It's kind of bizarre. Had never used it before, so it was nice to get a little trial run on it. Kind of aggressive, but I figured I don't want, if we do happen to hit a deer or something, I just didn't want it to take out the whole front end. So again, kind of protection long term.
We appreciate you guys.
So we did put on, some bigger wheels, obviously. Got some really serious suspension. So Van Compass does a suspension kit. We did the 4.5, so it has electronic adjustment. So instead of coming out and adjusting it outside, I can do it from inside because I'm old and why not. And then we had to add even some beefier suspension in the back. The van, it weighs in kind of heavy. And with all the water we have and the solar and everything else that's in there, wanted to make sure that we had the right kind of suspension. And then I also wanted to make sure that I could stop if we needed to, so we upgraded the brakes as well. So safety is kind of a key concept for us and dictated a lot of our decisions. I think that's the outside. So let me show you the inside. Before we actually go in, this is part of the inside-outside. So I have this tabletop that drops down. There's a 110 outlet here. So that we used to carry a little table with us, so when we were sitting out here, we could unfold that and put your drinks and your dinner on and whatever. But we had them add this here, which I love. Most of the hardware we try to get from the Marine World. Marine World just has a little bit better dialed in than the van life world so far. This is our little, there's a drawer that pulls out there. We keep all the dog supplies in, so their leashes and their food and their dog bowls and their doggy bags and all that, so that as we're leaving the van to walk the dogs or whatever, it's all right there, pretty close. So, come on in. The height of the bed was determined by the height of the bikes, right? So once we figured out where that was going to be, we ended up running into Young and Axel Blum, a German design adjustable bed. There's 2 bed frames and 2 mattresses, and the head area lifts up and also the knee area, so that you can sit up in bed and read, or we could watch Netflix or whatever, or you can raise the knee part and actually open the back doors and face out the back. There's some reading lights in the back, stereo system. You'll see up above in the ceiling, that's one of the internal cameras. There's another one right here, and there's another one right there. So this one focuses up in the cab area. If anybody's messing around, that corner focuses on the sliding door. This gives us the whole view of the van. We have a refrigerator. We found that we didn't use the freezer that we had in the Airstream. We actually ordered a 2-drawer double refrigerator. So we have plenty of storage for all sorts of food. This refrigerator, the B-pillar is here, and the wheel well is here, and this refrigerator is 36 inches long, and there was one place that would fit, and it was right here. So that fit there. It gave me a little space here. There's a little cabinet down here that has the induction stovetop that's in there. So instead of embedding it into the countertop, we can take it out. We can set it up here by the door. We can set it in the drop-down table, what have you. Drawer for silverware, cutlery, that kind of stuff. This is actually a recharging drawer. So all of our bike gear, our computers, our lights, different systems that we use when we're cycling, all can recharge inside this drawer. This drawer holds a little ladder that we set up right here that allows us to climb up in bed. Microwave, 2 drawers. This is kind of the pantry area. This is sort of call it the linen closet. So our towels, this is the shower curtain, shower supplies, and this is kind of the pots and pans area. Bench seat, so we've set up kind of a couple of different ways we can watch our projector. So we can hang it from these areas here and put the screen down here, so sit on the couch, watch it that way. There's also some connectors up here. We can watch it from the couch over there, or we could actually flip the screen around and watch it from the outside. So we have kind of, couch mode, bed mode, outside mode for watching TV. There's sink. This is a Rivaldi. It's a 10-inch deep sink. So it actually gives you a way to clean and dry your dishes. We had something similar like this in the Airstream that we loved. This is actually a wet bath. I did sort of CAD design, but not computer assisted design. We did cardboard assisted design. So before we did anything, I mean, you can look at a drawing of something and you can say, oh yeah, that gives me plenty of room. But what I found was when you build it out in cardboard, so I got 2x2 wood, and we built every component of this and built it in cardboard and wood and set it inside the van and then lived with it. And the early design was that there was going to be a shower here that went from floor to ceiling. And as soon as I built that in the cardboard build, it became apparent that it was going to feel too cramped and too crowded. So we figured out a way to put a toilet and a shower in this area. This lifts up for the shower, and then actually this slides to the side, so you can, I don't think these are still locked though. So they're locked for travel. Keep that countertop safe. So when you want to use it in shower mode, the toilet is removable. We have a composting toilet. Take the toilet out, stand in the shower. This is where the shower curtains hook in out here. So the shower curtain starts out wide and then comes inside the cabinet, so that as you're standing here, you've got more room, you know, for shampooing your hair and whatever, right? Because the curtain comes way out here. It was kind of a compromise. We still have the shower, we still have the toilet. We didn't take up all of that room. This was an idea that probably won't mention her name. I don't know if she wants the credit or not, but anyway, a woman that I bumped into in all of the design work. I was buying some extra Havelock wool from her to insulate behind the walls. And she had done something like this, and I thought it was brilliant. And so I worked with Hans and the guys at Reparadise to design something. This is a pretty heavy-duty system. So all of our sort of toiletries, so you know, my toiletries and Christy's toiletries are up here. This can expand to use as the bathroom and the shower, or just, you know, go back to being a countertop. We have way more countertop space by a lot, like 5 times more than we had in the Airstream, which gives us room to do stuff. So if you wanted to be standing up desk and working on your laptop, you could. You can also, you know, do it there from the couch or what have you. This is just additional storage. This one here is where we have all of the camera systems, so that's the monitor for that. And this is where I keep the projector TV and the little stand for it, the remotes. So this is kind of the electronics cabinet. And those are recording 24/7. So when we get out in dispersed parking, I have some little magnets that we put on each of the doors that says you're being recorded, just as an extra security safety measure. So that's it. We had really talented guy that Reparadise works with do the upholstery work. He does a lot of motorcycle seats, and you know, the stitching on these cushions for this couch is pretty legit. So yeah, we like it. Before I got introduced to Brandon and his team, we actually bought a shelf from RB Components, aluminum shelf that sits over the cab. It's a lot of open space, so there's a trade-off. One is you hit your head. That's the lesson you learn pretty quickly how to fix, but I keep bumping my head, so it does happen. But it gives you a lot more storage space. So we had Hans, their cabinet maker, who did phenomenal work in the whole van. He built a kind of a cabinet face to that shelf, so we store a lot of things up above the cab. We have cabinets pretty much, you know, where we need it. This is all of the galley cabinets. Marine fans, so there's one on this wall. This is the Sirocco fans. There's one on this wall as well, so we can use that for ventilation. This vent here, the bottom one is for heat and the top one is for air conditioning. And then there's a second air conditioning vent on the side here that kind of angles out and that was specifically put on Christy's side of the bed, so she gets the direct air conditioning vent. So air conditioning goes back and forward, and heat just goes forward because the floor is radiating heat. We didn't need a specific heat vent back there. Mercedes also has a really poor stereo system. So we upgraded the stereo in the cab area, and surprisingly, one of the main things you can do there is unplug the center speaker, which sounds like you would get less sound, but that allows the other speakers to operate better. We also upgraded those speakers, so the sound system in the front of the cab is better, but then we put in a second sort of house audio system. So we have a sub that we put behind the driver's seat. There's two mid-range speakers under the passenger seat. There's tweeters up in this cowling above the sliding door. And then there's the mid and the tweeters in the back doors. So if we want to listen inside the van or outside the van, there's plenty of ways to get sound in both areas and get good audio, and then we can connect it to our projector system as well and get kind of almost surround sound audio when we're watching Netflix or whatever. We did upgrade the seats. We got the Shield Man seats. They're super comfortable, also heated. They adjust in a number of positions that just make it more comfortable. So I like the seats. Despite all of the work that I did, the things that Reparadise brought to me to the table that I hadn't thought of. So, getting walls and ceiling in place, given the geometry inside the van, there's nothing square, and they've got, rib supports and pillars and all sorts of stuff. Reparadise it's a DIY kit, but they also install it. So cowling around the doors, so this pillar piece here, I knew we had to do it, but I didn't have a good way in my head, and there didn't seem to be a lot of good information that I trusted. Brandon was showing me their kits. This is commercial grade marine vinyl. So it's breathable. It has a thick felt pad on the back of it. It's washable. It doesn't mold, mildew, all that kind of stuff. Easy to clean. All of the walls are put on 1/4 inch marine grade ply, and the ceiling was all done in one piece. The plywood wasn't, but that was cobbled together, but the marine vinyl is all one long piece, and they put the ceiling in all in one shot. So that was a huge solution for me. Behind this, we put in Havelock wool. So probably the biggest debated issue in van life is insulation. Commercial products, there's Havelock wool, which is wool from New Zealand. So Christy and I did the insulation. Then these guys came in and put in the walls and the ceiling. So that was a huge solution, a problem for me that was solved. They also have some very cool integration. So this is the solar controller. It's integrated with the plumbing system, so your fresh water. All of the fresh water is internal inside the van. There is no black water because we have a composting toilet. And the gray tank is external to the van, but I have an electronic ball valve, so it's right under the driver's seat. So when you're in a responsible place, you can press the ball valve switch and it will drain outside the van. They solved a lot of problems on the plumbing, and so I love that they brought that to the table. They had a bunch of solutions across the board. Really easy guys to work with. I ended up I'd go into the office early and come out, 4 o'clock I'd show up at the shop and talk through the stuff and kind of look over the shoulder, not to slow anybody down or bother them, but to learn, right? So that I know where everything is in this van because I watched it go in almost real time. So, I was at their shop an hour or two a day, 5 or 6 days a week for the 6-month build. These were custom made. This is Rifson white oak that Hans did by hand for us, and then we stained it the color that we wanted. The size of these, vis-a-vis where the cabinets are, so that you're not hitting your head on it. So there's some geometry issues there. basically, we use these, we use the Marie Kondo techniques of folding stuff up into small places. And so we have 8 of these containers. Christy gets 4, I get 4. Place for our shoes. Also room and storage in the back at the headboard. The main sort of closet dressing area is down there. And then you can take the tub wherever, and I can get changed up here and she can get changed back there, or what have you. These are, this came from Paradise, kind of retro switches. So we have the lights over the sliding door is the first switch. The second switch is kind of this main living area. The third switch is the bedroom area. They're all on a dimmer switch. So whatever lights are on, the dimmer switch operates all of those lights together. We have lights, under cabinet lights on all of the cabinets. So it can be very cozy, or it can be, you know, functional. If it's time to cook food, then you got all the lights on and it's bright, and if it's time to relax and start winding down for the day, then you can dim it. Went with a solid surface countertop. It's a little bit heavier, it's 1/2 inch, but it just, you know, there was kind of a look and a feel that we wanted. It's aggressive on the outside, but it's pretty clean and modern on the inside, and we really like how it turned out. Christy does a lot of design work, and so, you know, the beauty of the inside of the van is all Christy. The design elements and the sourcing of, you know, most of the components on the inside, you know, came from all my time I spent on the internet. When she was saying, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just watching another build video." So I don't know what I'll do on Sunday mornings now that I don't have build videos to watch because my van's done. So we'll be off doing something rather than watching somebody else do something. So it was a fast build for van builds, but it felt like a very long time, and we are beyond ecstatic to get it out on the road. So we took it, we got it finished from them on New Year's Eve, and took it the next weekend up to Sun Valley, took our skate skis and went up to Galena area up there. They have a groomed ski trail that's like 25 miles long. Went and skied that, and then 2 weekends later we were down in southern Utah, St. George, just to get in the sun. It was super cold in Park City the morning we left. When I went into the office that morning, it was 0 degrees in Park City, Fahrenheit. And then when we got to St. George later in the day, somehow the sun was 60. So we will be using this basically every freaking weekend going forward. There's so much to see and so much to do in Utah. And like I said, within 5-6 hours, you can be in, you know, a desert environment, you can be in Red Rock area, you can be in Jackson Hole, or we could just stay in Park City and, you know, take the van up to a trailhead and enjoy lunch after a mountain bike ride here in town. So we're going to use it a lot. Wow, I think that's it. I think we got it.